hello, boy. Didn't realise my cat was in the room. Gonna have to let him out, otherwise he gets very angry. Alright, so we are live. Apologies everyone for being late. I got sidetracked. So, yeah, we move. But, yeah, so apologies for starting late. So, delay. Let's see. New mic any good? Here's the community section. Let's see, we have one question. Bear with me, I'll just open this up on my phone so I can keep track of comments. Yeah, it's just been one of those days, I think. I just slept a lot. Got sidetracked. You hate to see it, really, but it happens. So I'm not going to be too harsh on myself this week. There's a lot of stuff I want to discuss anyways, but yeah, there's a lot of topics for the week, and there's even more than this as well. I've got on the computer somewhere. We're also seeing the demise of Wilkinson's potentially, which is sad times. So that is tragic. Question's not too long. No, it's fine. So yeah, we'll answer the question, then we'll move on to some topics. Hopefully the audio level should be fine, but you never know with Twitter. I don't know. Elon's changed the I think the video player that they use, so it's a bit worse than it was before. But yeah, we move. So question: I thought UK checks have been delayed again for the fourth or fifth time. I think probably fifth. And the UK government did this because they say it's against inflation. Well, we all know that they are not ready to do control on EU goods. That is true. But I think the real reason is not only the rise of food price and inflation, but the government is afraid about shortages in the supermarkets or shops. European producers for the moment export food to the UK without any controls. There's customs. They're like very minor checks as far as I'm aware. There's customs and other things which add to costs and delays, but there's nothing major going on. Not like the Dover, not like in Calais anyways. Therefore, without a lot of additional checks and delays at the border, and we know that when or if the controls will take place, it will cost more to export to the UK for EU producers and, of course, UK consumers. If the British government's further rolled back controls on EU products, it is not only to worsen inflation. But it's also to avoid serious shortages of food next winter. I also think they want the Labour to deal with the mess. Yeah, that's probably true, because they know that one day or another, any country could sue the UK under WTO rules. So a Labour government, if it wins, will have to implement the control. So on this one, so there's a couple of different points here. So yes, they've delayed the checks because it would increase inflation massively. That is true. On the other point, so yeah, EU producers would not export as much to the UK because of all the checks. But on top of that, there would be the hauliers wouldn't want to come to the UK because they'll get stuck on both sides of the border. They'll get stuck on the way from France, and they'll get stuck on the way to France, if that makes sense. So hauliers would not want to come here. That will further push up the price on goods because they'll just charge more money, which they have every right to. It will cost more to export to the UK for EU producers. If the British government has further rolled back controls, is not only to worsen inflation, but also, yeah, they're trying to avoid food shortages next winter. Yeah, 100%. If they went through with these checks, it would cause a lot of shortages. You're correct. I also think they want Labour to deal with the mess. I don't think they've thought that far ahead. I don't think they thought that far ahead to the next government. I think they're just trying to go day by day. Really, it feels like. On the WTO point, because Trump hollowed out the WTO and there's a massive shortage of judges. I don't think any country will take us to the WTO for a while. The EU did start a case against us. I'm going to say, was it this February or last February? And I've heard no updates about it over the wind turbines. So, a WTO case could take a couple of years. I think generally they take a couple of years anyways. So I don't. It'd be a while, honestly. If a country took us to the WTO court over this, it would take a good few years, especially because of what Trump did. So, um, there's a reason why like countries don't really go to WTO courts that much. I think the US took China to the WTO court, and China countersued them and won. But it's not often. You might get countries that complain a lot and say, you should make checks on us easier, otherwise we'll take you to WTO court. Maybe they'll get something with that, but as far as I'm aware, it's not that often this happens. Um, let's see, it's not the end of the year yet. It's not. We're halfway through. We're just over the halfway mark. So we have a while, well, not just over. We're about a month and a bit over the halfway mark. So we've got a while to go yet. In terms of that. Let's see, food shortages in GB at Christmas will not go down well. To be fair, we narrowly avoided like a turkey shortage last Christmas. So, like, I don't know what the government will do at that point, because we already saw a shortage of tomatoes, lettuce, and cucumber at the start of the year, and we saw people moan a bit, but we didn't see a ton of complaints. So I don't know. I don't know if people seem to care that much. It doesn't, with all the problems the UK is facing, you think people would be a bit more animated, and the media would be a bit more animated on this stuff. But it just feels like they're very absent. Let's put it that way. It's mostly the YouTubers covering this stuff, to be honest. Like the media seem to be very absent on a lot of this stuff, and so I don't know where we go from here, to be honest. It's not great. SPS controls will slow down inward flow. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it will cause problems at kind of the Calais Dover crossing. So anyone going from Calais to Dover, they will get stuck in and around that crossing because of all the checks. And even then, like, the councils are mad, the ports are mad, because they paid out a ridiculous amount of money, and the government just said, like, excuse me, the government just said, like, we ain't gonna bother doing these, so have fun. And these are, they paid vets money. I think the contracts were given out by these councils and these ports in order to get people to work there. So it's not good at all, to be honest. But yeah, hopefully, Sabine, that kind of answers your question. We're kind of going to go on to some topics that I wanted to discuss. There's going to be some bits about Labour, and then we're going to talk about climate change, I think, and probably a couple of other topics. So, I did find this discussion quite interesting. Saying, someone saying, if you want to tackle climate change, or if you want to tackle the climate emergency, vote Labour. And, Labour have been a bit wishy-washy on climate change. So let's listen to this clip.
If you want to tackle the climate emergency, vote Labour, because that's the only way you're going to get rid of the Tories, who are making it worse, who are opposing it at almost every point, policies like the ones in London, to actually deal with that problem.
I mean, Labour rolled back. Labour, for the most part, rolled back on ULEZ as well. They seem to not want to back it, even though Starmer was backing it a few months ago.
It's interesting that you say that.
There's a difference between the Labour mayors and the main Labour Party.
About voting Labour for climate policies, and I will be voting Labour at the next general election, probably through gritted teeth at this point, due to the amount of U-turns that we've
through
seen.
enthusiasm,
but
frankly.
What enthusiasm is there to vote Labour? I'll be honest. Like, they've been really angry at Sadiq Khan for rolling out free school meals for kids in London, and it's like, isn't that what Labour's meant to be about? To help especially kids. Because they are the next generation, and kids shouldn't be going hungry. It's not their fault. They are born into the circumstances they are born into. But this is a party that's going to keep the 2-child cap. So I just don't get it.
I would say what I would.
Bear with me 1 second. I'm just going to open the door for the cat because he's very upset. Okay.
get rid of this Tory government.
I would vote for enthusiasm if I felt enthusiastic about the policies. But what I would
100.
say about this thing, vote for the Labour Party if you want to tackle the climate crisis. I do want to tackle the climate crisis, which is why I'm disappointed to see, Keir Starmer and his office essentially briefing against, Sadiq Khan around ULEZ, for example. I was very pleased to see that ULEZ was passed today in the court to say that we could extend that out to different boroughs. And I would be concerned to see that the Labour Party is now talking about reneging on commitments for climate spending, because I absolutely agree with you. A Green New Deal is very important, and investing in.
I mean, they said didn't Rachel Reeves a few years ago say something on the lines of we're going to spend I think 28 billion a year or something to invest in the country to deal with climate change, and this guy's Labour pulled back on it, and now this guy's saying they haven't pulled back on it. They're trying to roll back on ULEZ as well. The only one pushing it for it is Sadiq Khan, really.
In that Green New Deal is crucial, because if you invest now, it will cost.
This guy is kind of embarrassing, I'll be honest. Lord Hayne, Lord Sucky. But you got this guy Simon Jenkins saying Britain is in desperate need for radical ideas. So where are Labour's? I mean, this is kind of embarrassing. That you had a lot of Labour journalists kind of attack more radical ideas during the Corbyn era, and now they've come back and said, "Oh my God, why are Labour not doing anything about this thing?" And you're like, "Oh, you had your chance, dog. You could have backed the policies, not the man, but you could have backed the policies at least." I saw this poll, and this poll kind of scared me a lot. Which party's policies would improve your life? Labour 34, the Tories at 21. How is that even possible? How is this possible? And then neither winning at 45%. Big up neither. My candidate right now. I didn't bother reading this interview, but this kind of annoyed me a lot. So you have this lady Bridget Phillipson who said the banks are going to be told to do the right thing, saying an education secretary who lived through child poverty, whose life was changed by a great state education, who is 100% focused on making sure all kids get the best start in life. So why are you keeping the 2-child cap then? I don't get it. I don't get why they're doing this. And you got Ash Sarkar saying what the 2-child cap benefit does is punish children for the circumstances they are born into. Any politician refusing to say that they'd scrap it is defending that, which is true. She's correct on this. So you've got these politicians saying, "Oh, I benefited from the Labour Party when I was a kid," but they won't push for those kind of policies that benefited them when they were children, which is sad. Some more on climate change, really.
China's emissions are
Oh, that's very loud.
so high and ours fell is we deindustrialised. We got rid of a lot of our heavy industry, and we now buy the stuff we used to make ourselves from China. And their
It's not just China. It'd be like India, Bangladesh as well. Like a lot of the textile goods.
emissions globally are huge, but they're still, say, half per capita of what they are in the US.
Which is nuts. That the US is still a manufacturing powerhouse, but the fact that China's emissions are still lower per capita than the US is nuts, considering the amount of output China does. China is moving more towards green energy, and they are making some good steps. There are a lot of criticisms of Xi Jinping and the Chinese administration, but at least to an extent they are moving more towards green energy and putting money up there. And we've got the King, Ed Miliband, making a good point as well on certain topics.
The responsibility of
Fucking hell, that is loud.
these companies is to, as they see it, do right by their shareholders.
Which is true. The company's main responsibility is to their shareholders. Like that's the system.
Responsibility of government is to do right by the British people, and the
which is true, and that's why certain utilities should be nationalised, because at the end of the day, if the shareholders make more profit by dumping raw sewage into the waterways, and they can get away with it, why are they not going to do that? The government's responsibility is to the people, so they're not going to do that because that's going to impact the people's lives. So Ed Miliband is 100% correct here, and that's why public ownership is the solution. Strong legislation or public ownership. And, we got this about Rishi Sunak.
Is actually what it's done since Sunak has become Chancellor and Prime Minister. It's actually given huge tax breaks to North Sea oil and put a windfall tax on renewables and we're the only country in the world that's banned onshore wind. Now, that is surely criminal behaviour.
And that's, there's more of this kind of stuff where it's just stupid. What we're doing is stupid. Honestly, like the reason why they banned onshore wind is because of NIMBYs, because NIMBYs get mad about this because it lowers their house value, and it's just like, what are you like when their houses start getting flooded and stuff like that, are they going to be mad? Really? I don't get it. NIMBYs are, like I said, NIMBYs are some of the worst people. At least we got, one dude who's got his head screwed on a bit, which is Sadiq Khan.
Serious public.
And this is what should have happened from the start, really. We won't bother to watch the clip, but every single Londoner with a non-ULEZ compliant vehicle will now be eligible for financial support. I've continued to listen to Londoners' concerns in recent months. Expanding ULEZ was a difficult decision, but it's the right one to save lives. And what should have happened from the start is anyone who didn't have a ULEZ compliant car should have been, the government should basically buy out their car, recycle the parts and whatever, and pay them out for it. So that way, at least it won't financially bankrupt the people who don't have ULEZ compliant cars. There's not a ton of compliant cars anyways, but this is what should have happened. You have to give people a way out, effectively, of, being in a situation where, yes, their car isn't good for the climate, but, you're punishing them by forcing them to sell their car, and it'll be below value as well because other people in the area would not want to buy it. And obviously, if you have to travel further to buy it, it's not going to be great. So, yeah, this is what should have happened from the start. And this is one of the reasons why Sadiq Khan got so much criticism for the policy. Had he done this, I don't know if he had funding issues, but, somehow he's found the money to do this. But, this is a good policy, is to buy out the vehicles from these people and allow them to go into the market, which there are going to be problems with that, with the amount of supply of ULEZ compliant vehicles. But maybe that's something something Sadiq Khan could set up, some sort of scheme to help people buy ULEZ compliant vehicles. I don't know. But for the most part, at least we're heading in the right direction with this stuff. And at least we have one Labour person who's trying to do something about climate change. See if anyone's got anything relevant to say about that. Gas shortage in the EU gas storage even is in the EU is very good condition. It should not be a problem. Yeah, so long as they got access to Qatar and the other big gas producers, they should be fine. Honestly. People saying the UK is done. Yeah, thanks. That fills me with confidence. Let's see. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. I did want to talk about the interest rate rises, which are absolutely insane.
And renting isn't any easier.
Why are these videos so loud?
Either. Just this week, the BBC reported that every available property now has, on average, more than 20 people competing for it, with rental costs soaring.
So what's happened is a lot of landlords are selling up because of the interest rate rises. So what that means is that there's less supply for rental properties, and so landlords can charge even more money to rent out properties because there's a massive shortage in the market, thanks to Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng, but also thanks to what's his name? Not Mark Carney, not the GOAT fam. Won't criticise him. Andrew Bailey. Thanks to Andrew Bailey and Rishi Sunak, Jeremy Hunt. All of these people have made it so renting in this country is ridiculously difficult. It's pain. It's painful. I'll be honest. Very, very painful. And this is having real world impacts on people. This is a good video from the BBC, and I hope they do more of this stuff.
Our contract was capped at a 5% per year increase.
Which, again, a 5% increase per year is still unreasonable, given the fact that, the cost of the landlord doesn't go up 5% each year. So just having that in the contract was stupid, in terms of, looking at the cost. But, I'm not blaming them for that.
And then shortly after the mortgage crisis and interest rate situation happened, we were contacted asking to raise our rent by 12%. In response to that, we cited our...
So I don't know if that's 5% and then 12% or just straight 12%, but again, it's out of contract. Like, they can't really do that or shouldn't be able to.
Contract, and basically said, well, we have a capped contract. And then following that, very shortly afterwards, received a Section 21 notice.
So how did it feel when you got that email telling you you were being evicted?
It's very upsetting because it's sort of a situation in which you're quite powerless. There is very little I can do to sort of stay in this place that I've lived in for the past 4 years, which has been my home.
every day becomes a lot more stressful and a lot more insecure.
Yeah.
That's really affected you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think's behind your Section 21?
I think there's a bit of a panic in relation to the renters reform bill. I think they don't know if they're going to be able to do Section 21 evictions anymore in, I don't know, 6 months' time, and so
that's important. You know, it's the no fault evictions that the I think Michael Gove's finally getting rid of.
they're just trying to squeeze as much profit out as possible, or sell up, move things out of the way.
So yeah, effectively they might be looking at selling up. So they've got to evict people to sell up. But yeah, you know, again, a no-fault eviction after they dispute a 12% rent rise, despite the fact that, you know, contractually, the landlord should not have been able to do that. You know, they can argue the cost of their whatever's gone up, but at the end of the day, if you've got a rental property, that's an investment. You know, your investment is not working out. Like, you can't go turn around and say like, oh, I'm going to charge you more money or whatever. It's just stupid. You know, these are, you know, yeah, Larry, you're right. You know, then they like the rental market's just, houses have become absolute commodities to the point where, you know, they don't care that people live inside them. You know, you need a house, a flat, you need somewhere to live that's, you know, decent. And the simple fact is, like, the way the system is it's just not built properly at all. And it's becoming more and more kind of untenable. I mean, the situation now, like 20 people per rental property, you know, per viewing, and that would be in a lot of the major cities, would be higher, I think. And this from the geniuses at the Bank of England. Interest rates will not fall until there's solid evidence that rapid price rises are slowing. This is a guy who's raising the interest rates consistently and, you know, helping to cause more price increases. We are in a death spiral potentially right now, and what's happening is he's going to keep increasing interest rates because the inflation rate is not slowing down because of the price rises in food and because of price gouging. That's what's happening now. If the government stepped in and dealt with the price gouging properly, we would not be in the mess we are in. The bank said for the first time that interest rates would stay higher for longer in an effort to battle soaring inflation. Bailey said he would need more evidence that inflation was falling before cutting rates. And again, if he keeps increasing the rates, or the fact that we have high rates is adding to inflation, like this mantra that the central bank seem to keep having of raising interest rates is going to deal with inflation, is absolute stupidity. The only thing that will help you deal with inflation is actually redistributing the money, is doing windfall taxes and helping people through this crisis we have. That's the only thing that's going to grow this economy. If they dealt with the people who were doing the price gouging, we would not be in this mess. You know, she understands that the economics behind rate rises, but it's a hard pill to swallow. I mean, she clearly doesn't, you know, I don't want to be mean here, but I don't think she does understand the economics behind rate rises, because this isn't the right thing to do. That's the problem. You know, they've got a mortgage calculator here. It's just nuts. There was something, actually, do you know what? There was a clip I wanted to talk about with Rishi Sunak. Bear with me 1 second. I'm just going to find it quickly, because I was going to discuss this in a separate video. But it's perfect to talk about it now, actually. It's just Rishi Sunak mocking a guy whose interest rate's gone up on his mortgage, and Rishi Sunak offering the most brain-dead advice. Well, it's not completely brain-dead, but it's pretty brain-dead. Just bear with me 1 second as I try and find it, because I just put a load of stuff on my Twitter of stuff to discuss. Is it this one? No, it's not this one. That is one I wanted to discuss, though, so I'll come back to it soon. Better times lie ahead, Rishi Sunak claims.
30s with a wife and 4 children to support. Been encouraged to invest in bricks and mortar and become homeowners. But when my current 2-year fixed rate expires at the end of this year, my new fixed rate will go up from £1,500 a month to £2,800 a month.
So that's more, so a £1,300 increase. Again, remember, don't ask for a pay rise. Don't ask for a pay rise because you're causing inflation. But, you know, these interest rate rises won't cause inflation because they're not factored in to the way the inflation is calculated. But, you know, don't talk about this stuff.
As someone who works 7 days a week and has paid into the tax system since I left school without claiming a penny back, why do I feel like I'm being unfairly punished? And what can you do to help me?
Jack, thanks for calling. And it's a great question to start with, right? Because your situation is being faced by many across the country, and I'm incredibly sympathetic about it. I know you'll be anxious about what's going to happen to your mortgage when it comes up for repricing, and we're taking practical action that will help you and many others. So let me just tell you what you can do in the short term, and then I'll take a step back and tell you more broadly how we're going to help. Look, in the short term, for you or anyone else who's worried about this, you should talk to your bank. And what we've agreed is a mortgage charter with the lending industry. So you can talk to your bank and you can do a couple of things with them. You could extend the term of your mortgage by, say, 5 or 10 years, or you could switch to an interest-only mortgage. Now,
So doing an interest-only mortgage would mean that at the end of the term, you'd have a significant chunk of money to pay off. So that's generally a bad idea. The only reason you'd want to do an interest-only mortgage is if you're going to rent out the property to someone else. Generally, and it's not financial advice coming from me. And the other one is extending the term. Again, you're going to be paying more over a longer term, which again, just not smart.
It sounds like from your payments that
if possible, anyways, you don't want to be extending the term.
You've got a particularly large mortgage, so a typical payment for someone in the country is about £800, but that would go up to about £1,000 a month at current rates. But if you do one of the two things that I mentioned, which you can do with your bank at no change to your credit rating, that will save you hundreds of pounds a month on your mortgage payment. So it's very practical help for millions of families across the country.
So what if you're a renter? What do you do then if your landlord just ups the price? Is there anything for renters here? No.
Let's get
In
Jack
the short
back in.
term.
Jack, how does that sound to you, Jack?
Go on, Jack.
It sounds like I'm probably going to be. I mean, I'm already on a 35-year term, and that £2,800 was extending that term to 37 years. Now, bearing in mind I'm in my early 30s, I don't really want to be paying it off until I'm in the grave. So
yeah, it's another thing to remember. It's like I think a lot of the mortgage holders are a bit older than they would have been in kind of decades gone by, because it's much harder to actually, save up a deposit. That's another thing to remember. So when you talk about extending terms, you're not talking to someone who's potentially in their, early middle 20s. You're talking to people potentially in their 30s, maybe even early 40s, which, extending a term like that, it's not smart for them, because you don't want to be paying this off into retirement. If you're paying your mortgage into retirement, unless you have a lot of investments, it's just not good. Belly, if you're claiming energy is not a problem, clearly you don't live in the UK. 100%. If you're saying that, you do not live in the UK.
Think about, something to think about.
Yeah, we could see another interest rate tomorrow, Prime Minister.
Yeah, look,
it is widely predicted it's up 14th month in a row.
As I said, look, and Jack, I said, please do talk to your bank, because as I said, everyone's situation is going to be slightly different. But a typical mortgage in the UK, right, for you.
So in this context, we are not talking about Slovenia. We're talking about the UK. So energy bills are still a problem in the UK.
Your listeners have said typical mortgage. People have about 17 years outstanding on it. So you can extend it by 5 or 10 years. It will save you hundreds of pounds. But look, Jack, the best way for me to help you, your family and everyone else.
Here we go.
Is to
say the line, Rishi. Say the line.
Bring inflation down.
Yeah, we're going to bring inflation down. How are you going to do that? By doing nothing at all. Nothing at all. It's two Simpsons references for you, though.
Now, I know people will probably be, they're listening or they're watching me on telly and they're like, God, he's hanging on about inflation again.
Yeah. People are, because you're not doing anything. That's the problem. You can't say, oh, yeah, I want to sort this house out by tidying up. So how are you going to do that? By tidying up and doing absolutely nothing.
A slightly abstract economic concept, but it's not abstract. It's inflation that is causing everyone problems with their bills. It's inflation, which means that the Bank of England is having to put up interest rates. And the quicker we get inflation down, the quicker we can ease.
Again, if he did windfall taxes on supermarkets, on banks, on the energy companies, things would be, you could redistribute that money. And again, you could actually help people, but they're just not doing it. It's just painful. So painful.
Of these pressures, and that's why you've got to trust me, and you've seen me do it during the pandemic.
Who trusts you? No one trusts you, big man. No one trusts you.
I know how to manage the economy for everyone. I will bring inflation down. I will make the decisions that are necessary.
When you said inflation's going to go down by half at the start of the year. 1 second.
Not easy. You can trust me to do that on your behalf and everyone else's.
He said at the start of the year he's going to halve inflation. Inflation's gone up by, I think, double. I think it was like, what was it at the start of the year? Was it like 5 or 6%? And it crept up. It crept up massively. Fetch downgraded the US from AAA to AA+.
because the quicker we bring inflation down, the quicker we can start bringing interest rates down and ease that pressure for homeowners like you.
You are aware, and of course I should tell listeners, you can watch this, by the way, watch us live on Global Player. Prime Minister, you are aware that we are almost certainly going to have another rise again tomorrow, 14th month in a row. In the past, you've told people hold their nerve. They can't. Some of them can't hold their nerve, Prime Minister.
Based Nick Ferrari saying they can't hold their nerve. 100% is true, because at the end of the day, it's just impacting so many people. Unless you own your property freehold, you have no mortgage. These rate rises are impacting everyone.
They cannot make the payments.
Well, that's why we've put in place these easements. As I said, this mortgage charter
will
is
go to his 70s potentially.
Well, this is really important. We don't want people to lose their homes. I want people to be able to afford their...
No one... The thing is, we don't want anyone to lose their homes. No one wants to pay their mortgage into their 70s. No one wants to do that, especially if you have a physically intensive job. You won't be able to work into your 70s. This is terrible. This is so bad. Honestly, he should not have gone on this radio show. He should not have gone on this chat show or this radio show. Honestly, so bad. He's getting pieced up by the public and Nick Ferrari. That's embarrassing. Imagine getting pieced up by Nick Ferrari.
Their mortgages. And remember, there is an asset sitting behind most people's mortgage, right? There's a home that they own. And again, it's hard for every individual situation. On average, most people have a mortgage worth about £140,000 on a house that's worth about twice that, right? So there's a good amount of equity that they've got. Our job is to protect that.
So equity. So you want them to borrow more against their home. Is that what you're saying, Rishi?
For them, that's their savings that they've built up. Now, if you do some of the things I'm talking about, extend the term or switch to an interest-only mortgage, that will give you that relief in the short term, save you hundreds of pounds a month. And
you're not really saving. You should put it off for a later date, honestly.
And when I say we've got to stick with it, we've got to stick with the plan.
All right.
We've got the best way for me to help everyone is to bring inflation down, as I'm determined to do. Right. And that requires me to make some decisions, whether it's on public sector pay or not borrowing or having to say no to some people about things. But look, you've got to trust me to do that. That's what a responsible Prime Minister should do. That's what I will do to bring inflation down for all of you.
Jack, good luck to you, sir.
Yeah, good luck, brother. You're going to need it, honestly, because this is crazy. I mean, what he has said here is just insane. Don't worry though, Penny Mordaunt's on it because she's opened a food pantry, aka a food bank, and she's made this nice little PR video. If I get copyrighted to this music, I'll be so pissed. He won't half inflation anyways, because the things that are causing inflation he hasn't dealt with. That's the problem. Some of it he can't deal with, but a lot of it he can, and he's not doing it.
I'm here today in Paulsgrove Pantry to say a huge thank you to everyone who has helped establish this really important facility, and also to everyone who's helped contribute to the Baffins Pantry as well, which we helped establish.
And again, we're running into a situation where people can't afford to, people won't be able to afford to donate. That's the other problem we're going to run into. I remember some of the food banks saying, like, the people who donate to the food banks are now using the food bank because they don't have the money. They are struggling.
It's about 6 months on since we first set up these pantries, and they are really important to the local community.
Why are they important? Why should people need charity in one of the richest countries in the world? Why?
Helping about 130 families in Paulsgrove. There's a similar amount being supported in Baffins, and we hope in the coming months to establish a new pantry in the Hillsea area. We've now got a site for that, and I think that's going to be a really important asset to that community, especially at this particular time when people are really struggling with the cost of living.
Why are they suffering? It's because of you. It's because of your party.
I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who has helped, everyone who's made donations to both pantries.
The audio mix is a bit off. I know I'm not the right one to criticise this, but the music's a bit loud as well. Like, she definitely needs to speak to her editor about it.
But also for those that have got allotments and gardens and have donated fresh fruit and vegetables. It's
pretty cool of them, I can't lie.
Really, really appreciated. We're also looking for more volunteers, both here in Paulsgrove, but we will also want volunteers for the Hillsea area as well. So if you live in those areas or you're looking to come in and help volunteer, please get in touch with my office. Thank you.
Again, I'm not against this sort of stuff, but politicians, to kind of celebrate it, it's like, bro, like, the reason we're in this mess is because of people like you. And so for you to kind of say, oh yeah, we're opening more of these, like, we shouldn't need these. Not in the UK, we should not need these, but yet here we are. nut. This is from Prem Sikka, who is, I think, a member of the House of Lords. He also follows me on Twitter, so that's pretty dope. Let's see. Maybe he's not part of the House of Lords. Oh no, he is. Yeah, I remember. I checked him out. He's a Lord Sikka. Anyways, he was pretty. Oh crap! I've closed the tab. No, stupid. Where's the thing gone? Technical difficulties. So, workers shafted by the tax system. A worker earning £32,000 pays £3,886 in income tax, £2,332 in national insurance contribution, takes home £25,782. A rentier, so I think that's someone who, I think that'd be a landlord really, with £32,000 pays £2,600 in capital gains tax, 0 national insurance contributions, takes home £29,400. Worker gets £3,618 less. I think if you ran it as a PLC or a private limited company, PLC, no, just be as a limited company or whatever. If you ran it through like a management company, you would probably pay even less in that, because you'd pay out your the owner via like dividends and other nonsense. So this is stupid. Honestly, this system here is stupid. You got some economists, former Bank of England, MPC, Charles Goodhart on Hunt's low growth trap excuse.
Are saying that they're concerned that people's spending ability is already being squeezed hugely, and the full impacts of previous interest rates perhaps haven't even been felt yet, and there's a worry that it could slow the economy down. Is that something that worries you at all?
Well, the economy has to slow down in order to try and make the labour market less tight and bring the rate of wage growth down to a level that is consistent with the inflation target and with low inflation.
So what he's saying is to make the labour market less tight. So either we have more people come in via immigration, which isn't happening, or it's happening to an extent, or you have to make people unemployed in order to increase the amount in the labour pool. I think that's what he's kind of hinting at there.
So I know it's unpleasant, but it's got to be done, and with any luck, we can get through without a recession.
Well, yes, and Jeremy Hunt, the Chancellor, has said that Britain is stuck in a low-growth trap. Is that how you see it, and is there a way out of it?
Well, I think the word trap is unfortunate because it implies that somebody else did it, and it implies there's an easy way out or a way out. And I think neither of those are strictly true. Everyone in the world in the advanced economies are facing low growth, partly because of demographic problems, partly because of the row with China and Russia. We are perhaps worse, but it's slightly self-inflicted. Remember, Brexit had the adverse economic effects that many economists, including me, always thought it would have.
So yeah, some of the stuff he's saying is a bit, the idea that we need like the economy to crash a bit. I disagree with that. But we have done some of the damage to ourselves. But it's just not. Jeremy Hunt saying the low growth trap is just nonsense. This is another thing I want to discuss about NHS privatisation.
Well, look,
that's gonna be loud as hell, isn't it?
We've been using independent providers throughout the history of the NHS. Most GP practices are actually independent businesses
and getting a GP appointment is nigh on impossible.
That take on an NHS contract. The same is true for dentists.
Which again, dentists you got to pay out of pocket unless you're on like very low income.
It's very, very few
and again, dentistry, bit of a difficulty to get, especially NHS dentists.
Dentists that are actually directly employed by the NHS. Most are independent providers, and this is just an extension.
So this about the diagnostic centres, which are a bad idea. No, don't. The diagnostic centres, these are bad.
Turning to the private sector to help tackle NHS waiting lists. 13 new community diagnostic centres will be opened across England to carry out an additional 750,000 scans, checks and tests per year. 8 of the new facilities will be operated by...
So, I don't know if it's true, Labour are committed to continue. I don't know where his source is on that. But, when we look at these diagnostic centres, right, this is the truth behind them.
And to try and get these astronomical waiting lists down, hospital waiting lists for general checks and diagnostics and so on, is to get the private sector heavily involved now.
Yeah, and we've got to bear in mind that the private sector have been involved in the NHS for quite a while, and it was Labour who introduced it initially, but the current legislation is making it easier for private sectors to get NHS contracts. The concern is really that these centres and any private organisation within the NHS cream off the low complex, high volume procedures, leaving the complex stuff for the NHS.
So you're thinking...
So obviously, if it's not profitable for the company to carry out, to do the procedure, they're not going to do it, which obviously from a business perspective makes sense, but for the NHS, it's a bad idea.
Thinking that these diagnostic centres, the private ones, will be able to choose what kind of work that they are contracted to do.
There's always exclusion criteria whenever you refer anyone anywhere, particularly private organisations. So, for example, let's say someone's being referred for a hernia operation, and that hernia operation costs £1,000. Both the private sector and the NHS will both be given £1,000, but the private sector may say, well, we don't take patients with a lung condition or diabetes because we don't have the means to look after them afterwards, whereas the NHS don't have that choice, and they will take those very complex patients, have to look after them for days afterwards because they take a longer recovery, but get paid exactly the same. And the problem is then it starts to destabilise the NHS services. They may collapse. The private sector goes, OK, well, we're the only player in the game now. Let's put up our charges to the government, and that whole thing costs us more. That's the real risk here. The other risk is these private sectors, when they are taking these low complex procedures, have no deal with training, so they may not train staff. And so junior staff who would normally do those procedures in NHS settings are being robbed of those simple procedures where they would start their training.
Honestly, Boris Cooking, there's not many opportunities I could have paused it because he was just going on, and he was making great point after great point, which is it's a bad idea for multiple reasons. One is obviously the NHS are stuck with the more complex cases, which will obviously be a lot more problematic for the NHS, which is something that other kind of doctors I think have spoken about in the past, and it does take away opportunities from junior doctors to do kind of the easier, kind of more routine operations and get a lot more practice time, a lot more experience. And so they'll be better in the future. So, he is cooking. He's 100% correct on this stuff. Jeremy Hunt, we'll leave this one out because we've kind of watched this one already. The UK government scraps EU air quality laws. No, so like this person points out, they're not even content with filling our rivers. Our rivers and seas with sewage. Now Brexit means our air will be filthier too. I mean, what do you say? What do you say about this one? Genuinely, what do you say about this one? This one's so stupid. Even in the town I live in, because of the way the bus station is, there are days where the buses can get clogged up in the town centre and the air pollution allegedly hits illegal levels. And the council apparently had stopped monitoring it for a few days because they knew the levels were illegal. That's going to happen more and more, and the government are going to make it more normal for air pollution levels to be ridiculously high. And again, there was a recorded death, someone dying because of air pollution. This will impact people, especially with underlying conditions like asthma. This is stupid. This is avoidable. But, in the end, we're just a bunch of stupid people in this country. And this is what we're allowing. This is back in the day, a slightly younger Jeremy Hunt, I believe.
Brexit will happen. Do you know some data, how large impact it will be on the NHS system and the European Union nationals like Latvians, Lithuanians working in that particular system? Thanks a lot.
I told you our journalists are nice. Now you'll get the questions from your...
No. I'm very happy to answer that question. I mean, the NHS is very proud to have more than 20,000 nurses who are EU citizens and more than 10,000 doctors. And it would fall over without the incredibly important contribution made by citizens from other EU countries. And we want them to stay, and we've made it very clear that we want them to stay. And, we are very grateful for the huge contribution made by 100,000 Latvians living in the UK, not just to the NHS, but to many aspects of our economy and society. And that's why what we are seeking from these negotiations is a deep and special partnership.
A lot of Hunt is very boring, yes. A lot of NHS doctors and nurses left. A lot of EU citizens already left. Not probably just down to bad working conditions, but the fact that there were people who were incredibly xenophobic towards them. This is in 2010. Just as the Tories kind of came to power, obviously no credit to them. NHS was ranked 1 in the fairest, most efficient, and cost-effective health system in the world. So we were the best, or at least up there. You look at effective care. Look at number one across the board. For all of these things, safe care, coordinated care, which is true. It's very they can get access to, GP can give access to records to the hospital, things like that. Patient-centered care, look at that, just absolutely killing the game. The only one we didn't win on is efficiency. Timeliness of care. Again, the wait lists probably weren't the best even in 2010. But when you look at who came first, Switzerland, the Netherlands came second, so we're third. Still pretty good to be in the top 3. Top of the pack, really, or near the top of the pack. Efficiency, number 1, nuts. People kept saying the NHS need to be more efficient. It was number 1 in terms of efficiency. Equity, number 2, pretty good. Sweden beat us in that. Healthy lives, number 10. I wonder if that's more a criticism of the British public rather than anything. Yeah, definitely that. Look at US, number 11. It's just the fact that people are very unhealthy in the UK, which you can't really help. Who was number 1? France. Nuts. My impression of France are people who drink a lot of wine and smoke a lot. When you look at expenditure, healthcare expenditure, I think that would be per capita. Who had the highest? The USA, of course, at $8,000. Second, you had the Netherlands. Let's see if we can find the top 3. Switzerland would be third. No, Swiss second. Netherlands third. So again, per capita spending, we are the lowest. Nuts. We're the lowest. Madness. Look at Canada struggling. I wonder what the stats are now. I'd love to see what the stats are now, to be honest. But we were doing well. We were doing really well. Let's see. It doesn't really fit in topic-wise, but Britain's era of cheap food is over, says economists. We were promised Brexit would cut food prices in shops. Instead, it's raised it. We've got Richard Tice being stupid. This is his plans.
Spending. It's everywhere. All of us at home, we're looking...
Bro, get a teleprompter. Get a teleprompter, honestly. Stop looking down. Contact Phil or someone, get a teleprompter.
Our budgets, there's a serious cost of living crisis, and we're saying, right, how do we save, for example, £5 in 100, but still pay the bills? £5 in 100. So just imagine.
Come on, man. Can you get a Patreon, get a teleprompter?
If every public sector manager of every department, every spending department, every quango, every local authority, if they're told, you've also got to save £5 in 100, £5 in 100, without cutting any frontline services.
I mean, how are you going to achieve that, How are you going to achieve that in saving? You're not going to do it. They're going to have to make cuts to save the money. It's bare bones as is.
Rather like we do at home.
It's not like at home, though, is it? That money goes somewhere. They might be able to make better purchasing options if it's available to them. But that's up to the government and the managers in charge to make better options for what suppliers they use. But the idea, it can be like at home, if you buy the cheapest bread and there's no bread brand cheaper than that, what are you supposed to do then? Not eat bread. Let's be honest.
Yes, the nice to haves, you put those to one side, but you still provide and pay for the essentials. If every public sector manager did that, and if not, frankly, you do the same as what happens in business. You're told what to do, you deliver it, or you're fired. Guess what? They'll save £5 in 100.
Yeah, sure, mate. This man's off The Apprentice or something. What is going on here?
All of a sudden, you're talking about some quite serious cash. In fact, on the vast amounts of government spending, saving £5 in 100 is 60 billion quid. 60 billion.
Don't get them to save £5. Get them to save £10. That's 120 billion pounds. Honestly, what is this?
£1 billion a year could be saved. Must be saved. We've got to get Britain working again. 5.2 million people, adults. That's 1 in 8 of the working age population. For every million of those we get back into work, that's 15 billion quid.
Again, not everyone can go back into work because people have underlying health conditions. It's not as easy to say you're unemployed, go work. Like, it's not simple. Like, there's geography problems if the jobs aren't available there. There are multiple issues here, potentially why someone is unemployed. So this is just, again, Richard Tice being an absolute genius, saying, "Oh, just get a job, mate."
Give or take, every single year, as well as hugely improving their achievement, their sense of self-worth, sense of dignity, contribution to their community and the economy. And of course, if we get our own people back into work, then you reduce the huge, insatiable demand.
He speaks like he's Gordon Ramsay. Like, he's very quick in speaking, but he pauses very awkwardly. It's like he's in a rush to tell you something, but he's taking his time to say it at the same time.
From big business and from politicians that we need to import more cheap, low-skilled labour. We don't.
Like, again, it's the way they characterise it. It's very stupid. It dehumanises people. But also the fact that it's not just about people into low-skilled roles. We need high-skilled workers as well. So what he's talking about is absolute nonsense.
We've just got to look after our own people. We've got to motivate and incentivise our own people back into work.
So how are you going to do that then? Honestly, like, just stupid. Do you know what? We're going to do the Rishi Sunak clips, because I need to put them on my computer anyways. Because I want to get these up anyways, as my RAM cries. 64% actually, you're doing pretty good for once. I want to bring up the Sunak clips, so just bear with me for about 30 seconds as I try and find them, because he got pieced up. He got pieced up on that LBC show. It was embarrassing. So I need these clips anyways. Let's see. There's that one. Where else the other ones? Oh, so many actually wanted to do. Yeah, we're going to take this one as well. Take that one. This is a Photoshop picture, and a Labour MP actually tweeted it out and has still not deleted it. Tragic. Was there any more? We got the Jack one already. There was. Oh yeah, this one actually. This one's worth discussing.
That's absolutely.
This is about Labour not letting people vote SNP and encouraging them to vote Tory for some reason.
Well, Keir Starmer's made it completely clear that there's absolutely no deals to deal with the SNP. And actually, in Scotland, Labour's gone so far as to rule out any relationship with them, even in local elections. I mean, I think we lost control of Aberdeen Council because we refused to do it. Only last week, we suspended 2 Labour councillors in Edinburgh.
Oh, what's going on here?
Labour councillors in Edinburgh.
What's going on?
Without the
video's not working for some reason.
Made it completely over the SNP. So you've got actual real.
That is strange. I don't know, that one's not working, but that one's not important. Was there? I'm sure there was another one here. There it is. That's the one. Yeah, that'll be it. So, just want to discuss these ones quick.
Hi, Joe. It's Joe Foster here, and I'm a small business owner. I've got 2 small businesses here in the beautiful Richmond, North Yorkshire. I don't suppose you've heard the news, but last week was a very sad one here. 4 of our very well-established small independent businesses announced that they're shutting their doors because keeping going is just no longer financially viable. And talking to other fellow small businesses, not just here, I mean, to be fair, around the country, many more are on the brink. And asked why, what people are saying, and they're saying it all over social media and in person, they're quoting your Tory policies as the reason why. Everything from increased taxes, soaring cost, impact of Brexit, difficulty finding staff, all combined with the fact that it was your government that crashed the economy and left people without any spare disposable income to spend.
He just got pieced up there. You got absolutely hit with a combo breaker.
So, I mean, I know obviously we're here in a rural economy. It's a nightmare for anybody. But in rural economies and communities like ours, where small businesses are our lifeblood, I mean, it's really serious. So, my question to you is, what are you going to do about the fact that your Tory policies are causing small businesses to shut up shop?
Thanks, Joe. Always lovely to hear from you. No, look, Joe and I don't, as you can probably tell, share the same politics. We've had healthy debates on Brexit in the past, where we have a strongly.
I don't think there's much point asking if she votes Conservative.
No. She was very upset that I supported Brexit, but I think that was the right thing to do.
And any comment on what else she said?
I don't think that's the reason that some businesses are struggling at the moment. I think it has
Yeah, it's I don't know about that, Chief. Small business are struggling. Struggling to get goods in because of the not the tariffs, the customs and other things. They're struggling to get stuff out, which would again, if they are export based, which some of them are, they're going to struggle to sell their goods into the EU. So again, that's not great. I know it's 9. It was 9:10 when they recorded this, but bro should have woke up a bit earlier.
Has a lot to do with energy bills, actually. It has a lot to do with
energy bills. Is it one of the reasons why we import energy, obviously from countries like Norway, and with the pound taking an absolute battering, do you not think the price of energy has not gone up as well? Partially down to Brexit, at least, because the currency's been down since 2016.
Energy bills, and it has a lot to do with inflation. When I'm
again, inflation. We've spoken about the B word's impact on inflation as well. So yeah, not great from Rishi, especially when she pieced them up on everything else about them squeezing, living standards and other things. So that kind of being very flippant here, which is just not a good look, especially if you watch this on video. Him kind of clowning a bit, So, excuse me. So this is again not a good look from him at all.
People to feel hopeful. I know it's been tough, but I'm really confident that better times lie ahead. And I may have only had the job for several weeks at this point, but actually...
What the? Several weeks? When is this video from? Oh, this video is old.
I feel good about the future. I feel positive about the change that we can bring.
Bro, this is going to be a rough year for you, man. I'll be real.
So that we can improve everyone's lives, so that we can deliver the peace of mind that people are looking for in the here and now.
Yeah, this man was 100% wrong on everything he just said. We watched this one already. There's this one as well.
Who's on the front line? Quick response, Olivia, if you would, before we move on. Olivia.
I think it's amazing that we're blaming the increasing in waiting lists on doctors going on strike. You're losing staff because we're undervalued, and it's not just doctors, it's everyone. We're all leaving. A happy workforce is your responsibility.
Yep.
You're the Prime Minister, you're the government, your staff aren't happy. That's your fault. And ultimately, that's not good for patients, because retaining staff is one of the bedrocks of making sure that you have good patient safety. You cannot keep the NHS running with the staff shortages that it has. And to keep us here, you have to keep us happy. That is your job. None of us are happy.
I would just say, Olivia, so if you look, when you have the time, please go look at the long-term workforce plan. It's the NHS.
I've read it.
Oh, no.
I get it. It's great. I love the fact that you're bringing in tons of new people, but there's going to be no one there to train or educate or supervise them. And you cannot be safe without senior staff on the wards training, educating, and supervising.
So there's three.
It's just the way he pulls up surprise faces. Like, look at this. Look at. It's just these are the kind of faces I feel like. I guess this is the most relatable. I guess any prime minister will ever be to me. But it's like he's like, what? And it's just like without trained. Who's going to train people? Who's going to help them out when they get stuck on things? That's why you have experienced staff. When I get stuck at work, annoying as I can be, I ask the guys who have more, and girls who have more experience than me, what does this mean? Because I don't know. And if those people weren't there, I'd just be stuck either asking the managers constantly, which again takes time out of their day, or I would just be stuck and I would get things wrong. And in the context of my job, if I get things wrong, it's not, it can be fixed. It costs money. If you're doing, giving people medical procedures or advising them on things that they need, if you make a mistake, you could kill someone. So, these faces that he pulls are just so stupid. And he got absolutely pieced up here. He's like, you should read the plan. It's like, I've read the plan. It's like, without experienced staff, you're going to have no one. So they're going to bring in all of these noobs, right? These, essentially, all of these beginners to come in to do this work, right? And then who's going to help them? Because after they've done, qualifications, the uni stuff, they still need a lot of training in order to get going. And he's not offering it. It's just stupid. I just despair at this geezer, honestly. Apart from giving us the confused face here, apart from that, there's not much you can go off this. It's just silly. It's just this whole thing. He's just silly. I don't know what more to say about the geese, honestly. A billionaire earning 150 grand a year is not in it for the money. He's there for, he is there for power. I mean, if you look at the amount of work his kind of wife's firms have gotten recently of certain companies, it paints a very big conflict of interest, I'll be honest. Didn't he waste 11 billion of bad loans? Yeah, I mean, he did waste a lot of money on bad loans and other things that, there was a lot of fraud, let's be honest now. A lot of COVID fraud, but what more can you say about that? But I'm going to try and piece up these videos. There's a few more I wanted to talk about, so doing a video every other day can get messy in terms of scheduling stuff, but we move. I don't think I've got anything. I've got like videos I've got to record tomorrow, actually. I think I've got one more in the chamber left, really. Let's have a look. What is the one I've got left? Oh, yeah, it's about Tories fear-mongering about socialist Labour people, but yeah, not much more I want to say about this one. I'm going to wrap up the stream here. So, remember to hit the like button. If you do watch this one back, let me know what you think. I'm going to put the post up for the next one. Here's the community post for Live Chat 7. I'm just going to put this up here. Or not 7, 12 even. On the... Hopefully I'll be able to start on time next week. It just had prior commitments. 12 for the 12th. Just outside of life, outside of like YouTube commitments, I guess, real life commitments. Post chat for live chat 12 for the 12th of August. So yeah, I'll put that up. So if you've got any questions, that's the one. Yeah, Infosys or whatever it's called, a company owned by her father, to sign a multi-million-dollar deal with BP. Yep. So it might not be a real conflict of interest, but it's just it just looks like a conflict of interest. There might be no there might be nothing corrupt going on, but the problem is because of the amount of money the geezer has, it just looks dodgy. That's the problem that he's going to keep running into. He does. He looks very arrogant and very flippant. And that's what I mean. Like, if they put those videos out and people see those, Labour can run with those. Honestly, Labour should run with those. To make him look like he's an out-of-touch Prime Minister, because he's out of touch. That'll be Labour's biggest weapon against him. He's a rich dude who doesn't care about poor people. That's pretty much it. Let's see if there's any other good comments. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see what he comes out with next. But I think he's going to be on break for a bit. We have to wait until the Conservative Party conference. Labour conference is coming up. I think, I'm not sure, it's after the by-election in Scotland. Let's see if I can find the by-election. The by-election. When is that? Rutherglen by-election. When is it? What date? Because Labour's conference will be after that. Oh, they use AI assistants to make the voice thing cool. What's the date on it? Tell me the date. When is it? Has it not been called yet? What's the date on this? SNP by-election date. Oh. God, I hate Google sometimes. I don't think they've got a date on it yet. Oh, that sucks. See, Labour want the earliest opportunity to be 5th of October. Alright, cool. Cool. But yeah, Labour need to point this stuff out. That's what I was trying to say. Phil. I'm not Phil. That's not me. Labour need to... I mean, yeah, it's easy. I mean, like, the thing is, I don't know why. They paid these campaign strategists so much money, right? And they come up with diddly squat. They come up with them stupid posters. All they got to do is pull up, pictures of him talking absolute nonsense to people on mortgages. I mean, look at this. She's saying, your plan's garbage. He's like, what? Do stuff like, there's so much Labour could do here. It's a target-rich environment, honestly. They just keep missing, honestly. They just keep missing shots, and it's embarrassing. I am embarrassed for them, because why are you paying these strategists so much money? Membership money. Why are you paying them so much to do garbage work? Absolute garbage work. It just hurts my soul. Sunak has overdosed. Smug, yeah, 100% he has. This election will be the biggest challenge of his career that he has ever faced, and he does not look like he's up to the challenge, I'll be honest. Pressure was talking to Phil, not you, Mac. But Phil's not here. Is there a person called Phil Macaron? Okay, cool. That makes more sense. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. I'll catch you guys next week, which I will try to actually start on time and clear all of these tabs so I have some new topics for you guys. But anyways, I'll catch you next week. Bye-bye. Unlucky Ackies, mate. You can just watch it back if you want, or just check it out next week. But I'll catch you lot next Saturday.